I would set boundaries, but I'm afraid of what people are going to do to me. Does your fear of retaliation keep you from setting boundaries? So, what can you do if you're afraid that someone's going to respond in an adverse way? They're going to take some action against you. They're going to harm your life, harm your reputation. They're going to do something to you that you can't handle if you were to set boundaries. What should you do if you fear retaliation and that's keeping you from setting boundaries? Well, you have to embrace the fact that they may retaliate. And here's why. What's the alternative to setting boundaries? You tell me. What is the alternative to setting boundaries? What are you going to do? Let someone walk all over you for the rest of your life? Let people just have their way with you, do whatever they want, take whatever they want from you without giving anything in return, without showing any respect? What is the alternative to setting boundaries? There is no healthy alternative. The only healthy course in life is to set boundaries. So you're literally saying, well, what if someone gets mad when I do something that's healthy? Let them. In fact, you should embrace it. And here's why. By them responding in an adverse way, trying to take revenge on you or retaliate against you for setting boundaries, they now expose who they are. That's one of the best things they could do. For one, it exposes to you if they're a person you can continue in a relationship with. So we want to set boundaries and be assertive as early as possible. Chances are, if you're fearing that this person is going to retaliate, you should have already cut them off in the first place. And so recognize if this person has already proven to you that they don't respect your boundaries, then they are no contact. You go no contact with them. If there's someone who you're not willing to cut off completely, then you cut them off to the extent possible, to the extent humanly possible. We're talking about, in some cases, bosses, some cases, a family member you live with, in some cases, an ex that you share children with, then you still cut them off. You just cut them off to the extent humanly possible. So you're having the minimal amount of contact. Minimal amount of contact means minimal situations where you have to set boundaries, minimal situations where you have to set boundaries, minimal situations where they may retaliate. Finally, retaliation on their part is going to expose them not just to you, but to others. So now you have a basis to sue them if that's your boss, or go to HR. You have a basis to leave them, to walk away from them, or to take whatever action in reporting them for what they did to you. You get the basis from them retaliating. So just like every human has to have a hill that they die on, you have to have something you believe in, something you stand for. Otherwise, what? You fall for anything if you stand for nothing. So this is your hill. You're willing to die for your boundaries. You realize that? Like, you're not just going to treat me like I'm insignificant or of no importance, right? You are going to respect me. Otherwise, you're going to do whatever you're going to do to me. And that has to be your attitude. Also, you have to embrace the fact that whatever they do, you're going to be able to handle. So your mindset needs to be, let them do what they do. I can't predict what they're going to do. And it's not my job. My job is to set my boundaries. So you're redoing the same mistake that you've always made, which is trying to control someone else's actions. Worry about setting your boundaries, not trying to manage their actions through manipulation. Like, well, I'm not going to say anything to them so that they don't say anything to me. Don't worry about what they're going to do. Focus on what you need to do. And what you need to do is establish a boundary, even in the eyes of the law. If you go and you say, hey, I want to report this person for stalking, they're going to say, well, did you ever tell them not to talk to you? Did you ask them in no uncertain terms to not contact you? You can't be like, no, I never asked. Because they're going to be like, then how are you going to report them for violating your boundaries when you never expressed your boundaries? Because you were afraid of retaliation. You understand? So in most cases, in about 89-90% of cases, you need to not be afraid of the retaliation. You need to embrace that it's going to be what it's going to be. You need to let all the dookie hit the fan. Let it all happen the way it's going to happen. Let it all crumble. Let it all fall apart. And then that gives you your basis to take your next action, to make your next move. Okay? So for instance, a woman's being sexually harassed by her boss. She may, of fear of retaliation, fear that, let's say, she is going to get fired or be treated badly in the workplace. She doesn't speak up to her boss and say, hey, don't do that. That's sexual harassment. I don't have to take it. She doesn't do that. As a result, what happens? She continues to get sexually harassed every single day. That's a special type of hell. It's better to just say, hey, that's sexual harassment and I don't have to take it, setting the boundary, and then letting the dookie hit the fan. Okay, let's see what happens. Be brave. Okay, no, it's your move. What are you going to do? Any logical boss will then say, oh, I better back off and be careful because this person has set a boundary. I don't want to get in trouble because I don't have a leg to stand on here because I'm sexually harassing. A narcissistic, bad, wicked, evil person will retaliate. And, oh, okay, well, I'm going to try to punish them. I'm going to try to do something to them to get them in trouble. I'm going to try to hurt them, harm them, or get them to fall in line by scaring them. And that's what it all comes down to. It's rule or ruin. So they're going to either try to rule you or they're going to try to ruin you. You can't allow them to rule you. So you have to just let them try to ruin you and deal with picking up the pieces later. That way you're not controlled by fear. Does that make sense? And so, yeah, they could actually go and accuse you of something, say, he sexually harassed me or they sexually harassed me, whatever, right? Make up a story. Now you're dealing with the retaliation. Okay, let it all fall down. So you're going to lose this job. You're going to have to move on. But that's okay because you had a boss that was sexually harassing you. It's still preferable to living in the special hell of being inauthentic and unable to speak up, unwilling to set boundaries and assert yourself. That's not what you want. Okay? So the answer to the question is that boundaries are non-negotiable. So if you recognize, hey, I'm feeling uncomfortable, that's time to assert or enforce a boundary. If you assert or enforce a boundary and someone retaliates against you, oh well, that wasn't something you could control. It's not your job to manage their behavior through covert manipulation tactics. It's your job to establish, here is me. And that's by asserting your boundaries, asserting yourself. And then they see that. And now they have an opportunity to be able to coexist with you. Otherwise, it was all going to fall apart anyway. So if they retaliate, assure yourself. Whatever comes my way, I can handle it. It may be for the best in the end. So yeah, maybe temporarily you would lose your house, lose your job, lose your car, lose your reputation, lose your friends. Maybe that will happen when you set your boundaries. Maybe. But that's okay. Because none of those things are actually worse than living in the special hell of a person who doesn't use their voice to speak up and they don't use their legs to walk away.